The Netherlands wants to shut down Islamic and Chinese weekend schools in order to erase our culture. This is your favorite half Chinese. Yes, and I made a very bold statement, in order to erase our culture. In other words, if another nation would do it, for example, if China would do this, they would call it cultural genocide, wouldn't they? So we're going to call it like that also. And hear me out, and then you can just think of it if you agree with me, and then you let me know in the comment section, but you're gonna keep it respectful. So why do I say that? Because I am a Chinese from Suriname, which is a Dutch colony, or was. When my father was born there, he was forced to learn Dutch, while Suriname, for the people who don't know, is in South America. They were not allowed to speak their own language. They do not learn about their own cultures over there, nothing. They are forced to learn whatever it is that the lies that the schools are giving to them about history and everything. They totally erase the culture of all those people. That's the history of the Netherlands. I'm sorry. Well, they don't attack me. I'm half Dutch and I'm half Chinese. I can say it, right? So this is what we've been doing in all our colonies, controlling the narrative. Nowadays, it becomes increasingly difficult to control the narrative, since we have social media platforms and everybody can get on there, which probably one of these days is going to change because of that. However, we are having, the government is having this problem. What is actually the reason behind it? So they are using the Muslims again, as the minds of the Dutch people has already been prepped that Muslims by default must be very aggressive, and that is the teaching that they get. That is literally what they say. They're being taught aggressive things and blah, blah, blah. Therefore, they must shut down, right? For the Chinese, they say the other thing, and also the Dutch people have been prepped. Their minds have been prepped for that, by accepting that everything has something to do with spying or influence of the government of China. Because what they say, the government of China is helping them for paying for books or whatever they need for the schools. And they also are learning about their history of China, and they're not talking about the tens of millions of people that died during the Cultural Revolution. So here we go. So what they're trying to tell you is that Muslims are being trained to become terrorists in their weekend school, and Chinese people are being trained to overthrow this government here, or influence the government or whatever, being spies basically, right? Because why would you care about what kind of history they are being taught? The reason, just as a quick side note, why they're not being taught that tens of millions of people died during the Cultural Revolution, because there were not tens of millions of people dying during the Cultural Revolution. But it shows that is what the Netherlands wants other people to believe, because communism must be viewed as very bad. To keep you from reading the Communist Manifesto, for example. All of you need to go download it right now and read it, just because of that. So they want to control the narrative, right? How can Dutch people inherently are not Muslims, all right? How can they determine for a Muslim what they need to learn? You just think of that. Dutch people are also not Chinese. Who are they to tell Chinese people what kind of history Chinese people had? Just think of it. Now, I know the minds of the Dutch people have been prepped already since young in school by blindly accepting the following premises, that whatever the government in China says is always lies. Communists always lie by default. While it is actually never been proven a single lie, but what has been proven is that the Netherlands and the collective West, the capitalist nations under NATO, have always been lying about every single war they started on other nations. It has been proven and also been admitted. So now what they want is that the liars are going to tell the Muslims how Islam works, and they want these exact same liars to tell the Chinese people about their history. You don't think that's insane? Like, honestly, Dutch people don't know the language, they don't know the culture, neither Arabic nor Chinese. They don't know our culture because they never asked. Then Dutch people generally are not interested in other people's culture because they think they are standing above everything. While the only thing that they are really number one in is robbing the rest of the world. Sorry, I had to slide it in there because I'm really, really fed up with this. So what they want you to do, what they really actually want to do, they want to change Islam into a way that is suitable to the Netherlands. They want to change the Chinese culture into what is suitable for the Netherlands. So they can use the Chinese people probably to fight against China. And so they can use the Muslims to fight against other Muslim nations. That is the only thing what I can think of why you would do that. Because it is too ridiculous to think that you now do not allow ethnic minorities to have the freedom to study about their own culture in their weekends. Because mind you, this is not a substitute for the normal school. It's just extra in the weekend, on a Saturday or on a Sunday, right? So during the midweek, they're just going to the regular school. So what should be the problem, right? The problem is they have no influence on what is being said. And they want to be the one that is giving that narrative. And why? Well, the one who controls the narrative controls the mind. And they cannot control us. And that is the reason. Because nowadays I even see the younger kids are getting more and more interested in their own culture, because the more and more, whether you are Muslim or Chinese, you're being ousted by the Dutch community. Yes, in the past, Chinese people were not really that much ousted as the Muslims, but I think we are now even being ousted even more than the Muslims. We are actually the new Muslims. As a Muslim from New York wrote in an article, the Chinese are the new Muslims, referring to the attacks on us. Similar like the attacks on the Muslim world after 9/11. But anyway, that's off topic. They want to control the narrative. They do not want us to have the truth. They do not want us to learn about our culture. They want to interfere in our history. They want to create a false and fake narrative. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the case of erasing another culture in the Netherlands. And therefore, I plead my case and call it cultural genocide. But I leave it all up to you guys to let me know in the comment section whether you think it is. But please keep it respectful, because we are not uncivilized barbarians, unlike the ones who actually want this. Because we can only say that they are barbarians because only barbarians hate culture. And I leave it at that. I hope you like this video, share, and if you have not yet, then follow. This was your favorite half Chinese. And as always, have a great day.